Welcome to MaxLife Man, your essential YouTube channel, expertly led by our senior physician, Dr. Sterling Thorne, and the dedicated research team at the prestigious Evergreen Peaks Institute. Here we don't deal in myths, quick fixes, or empty promises. We deal in science. We deal in truth. And most importantly, we deal in your reality as a man over 60. Because let's face it, there are questions you've carried in silence for years. Questions about your body, your erections, your prostate, your desire. Questions you may never ask your doctor because you fear judgment. Questions you may never share with friends because pride won't let you. And yet late at night you wonder, is this the end of my manhood? Is my body betraying me? Gentlemen, the answer is no. Your body isn't betraying you, it's signaling you. And if you learn how to listen, if you learn how to respond, you can restore energy, restore intimacy, and yes, restore erections that feel alive even in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Now here's the shocking truth that few will tell you. Your daily habits, the choices you make when nobody is watching, have more impact on your vitality than any pill a pharmacy can sell. Whether it's your sleep, your nutrition, your circulation, or even the controversial subject we'll touch today, masturbation in old age, all of it shapes your hormones, your nervous system, your blood flow, your confidence. Let me give you a glimpse. Urologists are now pointing to evidence that whether or not a man continues to stimulate and release in his later decades has measurable effects on prostate health, testosterone regulation, and circulation in the penis itself. Ignore it, and you may face stagnation. Stagnation in the tissues, stagnation in the gland, stagnation in your sense of masculinity. Address it wisely, and you may experience benefits far beyond the bedroom. Calmer sleep, reduced prostate congestion, improved mood, even a stronger immune response. But before we dive deeper, I want to stop and ask you one thing. Right now, as you're listening, take a second and hit that like button. And let me tell you why. Not because it helps this channel, though it does, but because every single click sends a message to the algorithm that men's health deserves attention, that older men's voices matter, that your story should not be ignored. And I'll add this, because I've seen it happen too many times to dismiss it. Every man who taps like isn't just supporting us. He's declaring something to himself. I'm ready to reclaim my strength. And more often than not, that simple action opens the door to unexpected blessings. I've had men write me saying, "Doc, I hit like as a joke, but somehow after that I felt renewed motivation. I slept better that night. I had more energy the next morning." Call it psychology, call it intention, or call it what I call it, the universe rewarding a decision to act. So here's my promise, tap like, and may you be blessed with health, with joy, with strength. May your nights bring deeper rest, may your days bring brighter energy, and may the universe place in your path the very outcome you've been hoping for. Try it, gentlemen, see what happens. Sometimes the smallest gesture triggers the greatest change. Now, back to our mission. Why are we having this conversation today? Because aging men have been lied to. They've been told decline is inevitable, that shrinking desire, softer erections, longer recovery times, and midnight trips to the bathroom are simply normal. And while yes, aging changes the body, it does not erase manhood. You are not meant to spend the last decades of your life as a shadow of who you were. You are meant to adapt, to refine, to restore. That's where neuroscience, endocrinology, and urology all intersect. Studies from Harvard, Stanford, and the European Urological Association have all confirmed that older men who maintain circulation, sexual activity, and yes, regular stimulation, enjoy healthier prostates, steadier testosterone, stronger pelvic floor muscles, and a more resilient sense of identity. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two men, both 68 years old. The first shrugs his shoulders, accepts decline, avoids intimacy out of fear of embarrassment, never challenges his body, never maintains arousal. Over the years, his circulation weakens, his testosterone dips further, his prostate stiffens, and his confidence shrinks. The second man, he refuses resignation. He walks each morning for circulation. He loads his plate with pomegranate and spinach to nourish nitric oxide. He prioritizes sleep to restore testosterone. And yes, he continues to engage sexually, alone or with a partner, because he understands that sexual function is not shameful but medicinal. His erections are not what they were at 25, but they are alive. His desire is steady. His prostate remains healthy. His mood is resilient. Gentlemen, which man do you want to be? That is why we're here. To arm you with the knowledge, the science, the practical steps to ensure you stay in control of your body and your manhood, long after society has told you to surrender. So as we begin this journey today, remember this: you are not broken. You are not finished. Your engine is still inside you, and with the right tools, the right choices, and the right mindset, you can make it fire again. Now let's explore the truth together. What really happens if you don't masturbate in old age? Why urologists are raising the alarm, and what you can do starting today to protect your health, your erections, and your legacy as a man. Why urologists say masturbation matters after 60. For decades, many men have believed that masturbation in later life is either unnecessary or even harmful. But modern urology paints a very different picture. Far from being trivial, what you do, or don't do, sexually after 60 can leave a direct imprint on your prostate, your circulation, your hormones, and even your mood. Let's start with the prostate. This walnut-sized gland doesn't just sit quietly. It relies on regular circulation and drainage to stay healthy. According to a study published in the European Urology Journal, 2016, men who reported regular ejaculation had a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who abstained. The mechanism: ejaculation clears out stagnant fluids, reduces inflammation, and promotes healthier cell turnover inside the gland. Then there's circulation. Erections are not just about intimacy, they're a test of vascular health. Urologists often say, the penis is the window to the heart, because problems with erections often precede cardiovascular issues by years. When sexual activity is absent for long periods, blood flow to penile tissue declines. Over time, this can lead to fibrosis, reduced elasticity, and weaker erections when you do try. It's the classic use it or lose it principle in action. And we cannot ignore hormones. Testosterone naturally declines with age, but sexual activity itself helps sustain balance. Harvard Health points out that regular arousal and ejaculation stimulate the hypothalamic-pituitary gonadal axis, a fancy way of saying the body keeps producing and recycling testosterone more efficiently when the system is engaged. Without it, testosterone levels may fall faster, fueling fatigue, muscle loss, and low libido. Finally, there's the nervous system. Neuroscience research in Nature Reviews Urology, 2019, shows that sexual activity triggers dopamine and oxytocin release, neurochemicals linked with mood, bonding, and resilience. Men who remain sexually active, even solo, often report reduced stress and better sleep. So, gentlemen, the point is clear. Ignoring this side of your health after 60 isn't harmless, it carries risks. Your prostate, your circulation, your testosterone, your nervous system, they all respond to whether you stay engaged. Backhand index pointing right, let me flip the question to you. Have you ever wondered if stopping masturbation completely could affect your health? Drop a yes or no in the comments. I want to see where you stand. Because one truth stands firm: in male health, silence is rarely strength. Engagement, in every sense of the word, is where vitality begins. Understanding the prostate, the overlooked engine. The prostate is one of the most overlooked yet vital organs in the male body. Roughly the size of a walnut, located just below the bladder, it surrounds the urethra, the tube that carries urine and semen out of the body. For decades, many men hardly thought about it until problems appeared. But modern medicine has made it clear: prostate health is central to male vitality, especially after 60. First, let's talk function. The prostate produces seminal fluid which nourishes and protects sperm. But its role doesn't stop there. A healthy prostate ensures that ejaculation is smooth, that circulation around the pelvic floor remains active, and that tissues within the gland don't become stagnant. Without stimulation and regular fluid turnover, congestion can develop, fueling discomfort, inflammation, or even long-term disease. Research published in the Journal of Urology, 2017, emphasizes that prostate health is closely tied to overall urinary health. As men age, the gland often enlarges, a condition called benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. When BPH develops, it can cause urinary urgency, weak flow, or nighttime trips to the bathroom. But studies also note that men with healthier sexual activity patterns show fewer severe urinary complications. Circulation is another critical piece. The prostate is highly vascular. It depends on rich blood supply. A review in Nature Reviews Urology, 2019, highlights that poor blood flow, whether from inactivity, vascular disease, or lack of arousal, leads to fibrosis and loss of glandular flexibility. In simple terms, the less you use and engage the system, the stiffer and less responsive it becomes. There's also the link to prostate cancer, which remains one of the most common cancers among men. A landmark prospective study in European Urology, 2016, found that men who ejaculated more frequently, 21 or more times per month, had a statistically lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared with those with less frequent activity. Researchers believe the mechanism lies in reducing carcinogenic buildup, lowering inflammation, and maintaining healthier cell turnover. Finally, it's important to recognize how the prostate connects to erections themselves. Because it sits at the crossroads of urinary and reproductive systems, an unhealthy prostate doesn't just affect comfort. It directly interferes with the ability to achieve and sustain erections. Men often report weaker or shorter-lasting erections when the prostate is inflamed or enlarged, underscoring the gland's role as more than a passive organ. In short, the prostate is not just an accessory, it's an engine, one that powers sexual health, urinary control, and even long-term disease prevention. To ignore it is to misunderstand one of the central players in a man's vitality after 60. Erections and circulation, use it or lose it. Let me share a comment that came in recently. Backhand index pointing right, doc, I'm 64 and I don't understand. I walk daily, I eat fairly well, but my morning erections have disappeared. Is this just age catching up, or is something wrong with my circulation? A powerful question, and one many men are afraid to ask. Here's the truth. Erections are not just about desire, they are a vascular event. Think of them as your body's blood pressure test for the penis. When they fade, it often signals that circulation is struggling. A study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2018, found that erectile dysfunction in older men is strongly correlated with early vascular disease. In fact, difficulty maintaining erections often appears years before a man experiences symptoms of heart disease. Urologists sometimes call this the canary in the coal mine. Why? Because erections rely on nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels and allows them to fill with blood. With age, if blood vessels stiffen or nitric oxide production declines, penile tissue suffers first. Without regular arousal and blood flow, smooth muscle fibers within the penis can actually be replaced by scar tissue, a process called fibrosis. Research in Circulation, 2019, showed that inactivity and poor vascular health accelerate this change, making erections weaker or shorter-lived. So when we say, use it or lose it, this isn't just a motivational phrase, it's biology. Regular sexual activity, whether solo or partnered, promotes blood flow, maintains elasticity, and signals the body to keep nitric oxide pathways alive. Without it, those pathways atrophy. Gentlemen, let me ask you this. Have you noticed changes in your circulation, like colder hands, slower recovery, or fading erections as you've aged? If yes, you're not alone, and it's not just age. It's your vascular system asking for attention. The good news? Circulation can be trained, resistance exercise, pelvic floor training, cardiovascular conditioning, and yes, continued sexual activity all restore the system. The body responds to use, and when you maintain blood flow, you maintain function. Erections and circulation, use it or lose it. Let me share a comment that came in recently. Backhand index pointing right, doc, I'm 64 and I don't understand. I walk daily, I eat fairly well, but my morning erections have disappeared. Is this just age catching up, or is something wrong with my circulation? A powerful question, and one many men are afraid to ask. Here's the truth. Erections are not just about desire, they are a vascular event. Think of them as your body's blood pressure test for the penis. When they fade, it often signals that circulation is struggling. A study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2018, found that erectile dysfunction in older men is strongly correlated with early vascular disease. In fact, difficulty maintaining erections often appears years before a man experiences symptoms of heart disease. Urologists sometimes call this the canary in the coal mine. Why? Because erections rely on nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels and allows them to fill with blood. With age, if blood vessels stiffen or nitric oxide production declines, penile tissue suffers first. Without regular arousal and blood flow, smooth muscle fibers within the penis can actually be replaced by scar tissue, a process called fibrosis. Research in Circulation, 2019, showed that inactivity and poor vascular health accelerate this change, making erections weaker or shorter-lived. So when we say, use it or lose it, this isn't just a motivational phrase, it's biology. Regular sexual activity, whether solo or partnered, promotes blood flow, maintains elasticity, and signals the body to keep nitric oxide pathways alive. Without it, those pathways atrophy. Gentlemen, let me ask you this. Have you noticed changes in your circulation, like colder hands, slower recovery, or fading erections, as you've aged? If yes, you're not alone. And it's not just age. It's your vascular system asking for attention. The good news? Circulation can be trained. Resistance exercise, pelvic floor training, cardiovascular conditioning, and yes, continued sexual activity all restore the system. The body responds to use, and when you maintain blood flow, you maintain function. Hormones and desire, testosterone's quiet decline. When men talk about aging, few words carry as much weight as testosterone. Often called the male hormone, testosterone isn't just about muscle mass or libido. It's a central regulator of energy, mood, bone density, and yes, erections. Yet after 60, its decline becomes quiet, steady, and deeply felt. Harvard Health reports that average testosterone levels in men drop about 1% each year after age 30. By the time a man reaches his 60s, he may have lost nearly a third of his youthful levels. For some, this decline feels like a dimmer switch on life itself. Less drive, slower recovery, more fat around the waist, weaker erections, and fading desire. The biology behind this is clear. Testosterone is produced in the testes under the direction of the brain's hypothalamic-pituitary axis. With age, both the signaling from the brain and the response from the testes weaken. The result? Lower circulating testosterone, which ripples across multiple systems. Endocrine Reviews, 2019, highlights how low testosterone undermines not just sexual desire, but also the mechanics of erection. Testosterone influences nitric oxide synthase, the enzyme that produces nitric oxide, the chemical spark that opens blood vessels in the penis. When testosterone dips, nitric oxide production slows, meaning blood flow is harder to achieve and sustain. It doesn't stop there. Testosterone also protects lean muscle mass, which itself drives metabolism. As levels fall, men lose muscle and gain fat, a shift that further suppresses testosterone through a vicious cycle. Adipose tissue, especially belly fat, produces aromatase, an enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. The more belly fat, the less testosterone, and the weaker the signals of desire. This isn't just about biology, it's about identity. Many men describe low testosterone not simply as less libido, but as feeling less like myself. That quiet erosion of motivation, confidence, and intimacy can silently fracture relationships and self-esteem. The takeaway is sobering but empowering. Testosterone's decline is natural, but it isn't destiny. Lifestyle interventions, resistance training, sleep optimization, balanced nutrition, and yes, healthy sexual activity have all been shown to slow the decline. And in some cases, medical therapy is warranted, guided by a specialist. The truth about masturbation in old age. What's clear is this: testosterone every time we open this topic, hormone, the same myths show up in my inbox and in the comments. To ignore it is to accept Let's pull a few decline. And set the record to respect straight. It is to defend manhood with arrow itself. Comment from George, 67. Doc, I heard that if I masturbate too often at my age, I'll lose all my energy and feel weaker. George, that myth has been around for centuries, but science says otherwise. A review in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2019, found no evidence that masturbation depletes long-term energy or weakens men. In fact, regular release was linked to lower stress hormones and better sleep quality. Energy isn't drained, it's restored when done in balance. Envelope with arrow letter from Robert, 70. They told me abstinence protects the prostate, so I stopped completely, thinking I was doing the right thing. Robert, I understand why you believed that, but the opposite is true. European Urology, 2016, published a landmark study showing men who ejaculated more frequently had a lower risk of prostate cancer. Regular release clears inflammatory substances and keeps circulation flowing. Abstinence doesn't protect the prostate, it can increase stagnation. Envelope with arrow feedback from Alan, 63. Masturbation after 60 will ruin erections. Right, it makes the penis lazy. Alan, no. Erections are a use it or lose it function. A study in BJU International, 2018, confirmed that regular sexual activity, partnered or solo, helped preserve erectile tissue health by maintaining blood flow and preventing fibrosis. Inactivity, not activity, is what makes erections weaker. So let's be clear, these myths aren't just harmless, they can steal men's vitality by keeping them in silence and shame. And look, if you're hearing this and thinking, wow, nobody ever told me that, here's my challenge: hit subscribe right now. Not because it'll improve your circulation instantly, though I wish it worked that way, but because it guarantees you'll never get stuck with outdated myths again. Think of it like adding fiber to your information diet. It may not taste exciting, but it keeps everything moving smoothly. Case story: a 68-year-old man who rebuilt his intimacy. Last month, I received a letter that stopped me in my tracks. It was from Richard, a 68-year-old retired teacher from Ohio. He told me I could share his words because, as he wrote, "If one man hears this and realizes he's not finished, then my embarrassment will be worth it." Here's what Richard wrote. Doc, I spent years hiding from my wife, not because I didn't love her, but because I felt like less of a man. My erections were gone, my desire was silent, and every time I thought about intimacy, fear hit me harder than lust. I started making excuses: headaches, long days, bad sleep. Truth was, I was ashamed. You can almost feel the pain in those words, can't you? For many men, the silent withdrawal hurts more than the physical struggle. It steals not only intimacy, but also identity. But Richard didn't stop there. He kept writing. One night, I stumbled across your video about prostate health and circulation. I heard the words "use it or lose it," and something inside me woke up. I realized I'd been waiting for a miracle pill when what I needed was to start engaging again. So Richard started small. He began with morning walks to improve blood flow. He added more spinach and pomegranate to his meals, foods rich in nitrates to boost nitric oxide. He practiced deep breathing before bed, calming his cortisol so sleep could return. And most importantly, he made the choice to engage sexually again, not hiding, not ashamed. The first time I tried, it wasn't perfect, but it was something, and that something gave me hope. Within weeks, my morning erections flickered back. Within months, my wife and I were laughing in bed again, not because it was like we were 25, but because we felt connected. Alive, together. Today, Richard is still 68, but he's no longer hiding. His testosterone isn't what it was at 30, but it's stable. His prostate health is good, his intimacy has returned, and his words at the end of the letter hit me hardest. Doc, I didn't get my youth back, I got my dignity back, and that is more than enough. When abstinence backfires, the risks of ignoring sexual health. Many men in their later decades believe that abstinence is a path to purity, discipline, or even protection. But from the standpoint of urology and gerontology, prolonged abstinence often carries risks that outweigh perceived benefits. First, consider the prostate. This small gland is highly dependent on circulation and fluid turnover. A longitudinal study in the European Urology Journal, 2016, found that men with more frequent ejaculations had a lower incidence of prostate cancer compared to those who rarely ejaculated. The reasoning is simple. Without release, prostatic secretions stagnate. Over time, this stagnation fosters inflammation, cellular stress, and potentially malignant changes. Second, urinary function. The prostate sits at the crossroads of the bladder and urethra. Research published in the Journal of Gerontology, Medical Sciences, 2018, notes that older men who reported complete sexual inactivity were more likely to experience urinary retention, weak flow, and nocturia. Regular sexual activity appears to maintain better pelvic floor muscle tone and neural responsiveness, both of which support normal urination. Third, erectile tissue health. Erections are a vascular exercise. They keep penile tissue elastic and oxygenated. A review in Nature Reviews Urology, 2019, showed that chronic erectile inactivity increases the risk of fibrosis, where smooth muscle fibers are replaced by rigid scar tissue. Once this happens, erectile function is much harder to restore, even with medical interventions. Finally, there is the psychological dimension. Older men who completely disengage from sexual activity often report lower mood, increased loneliness, and reduced self-esteem. Neurobiological studies confirm that sexual activity stimulates dopamine and oxytocin, neurochemicals vital for emotional resilience. In their absence, stress hormones like cortisol dominate, worsening sleep, energy, and even immune health. Abstinence, then, is not neutral. For the aging male body, it can backfire, leading to poorer prostate outcomes, weaker urinary health, diminished erectile tissue, and lower psychological resilience. This does not mean reckless indulgence. It means recognizing that sexual activity, even solo, is not trivial but therapeutic. To ignore sexual health is to misunderstand how deeply it is woven into overall vitality. After 60, silence does not equal strength. Engagement, wisely and safely practiced, is the better medicine. The benefits of healthy release beyond the bedroom. I want to share a short note that landed in my inbox just last week. It came from Alan, 65, who wrote, "Envelope with arrow, Doc, I'll be honest. I thought I was too old for this. I stopped everything for almost 10 years. Then after watching your video, I gave it a try again. Within a month, I started sleeping deeper. I wasn't waking up 3 or 4 times at night anymore. My energy in the morning felt lighter. My mood was calmer. It shocked me. I never thought something so simple could change my whole day." Alan's story isn't unique. Science backs him up. A review in Sleep Medicine Reviews, 2019, shows that sexual release increases oxytocin and prolactin, hormones that promote relaxation and deeper stages of sleep. Men who maintain sexual activity often report fewer nighttime interruptions and better overall rest. But the benefits go beyond sleep. A study in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, 2018, found that sexual activity, even solo, was linked with improved immune function, with higher levels of immunoglobulin A, the antibody that protects against respiratory illness. Regular engagement appears to prime the immune system to respond faster and stronger. And let's not overlook stress relief. According to Harvard Health Publishing, orgasm lowers cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. For older men who often carry the double burden of retirement worries and health challenges, that reduction in cortisol is no small thing. Lower cortisol translates to steadier blood pressure, healthier blood sugar, and even better testosterone regulation. So when we talk about the benefits of sexual release, we're not just talking about the bedroom. We're talking about sleep quality, immune resilience, stress control, and even hormonal balance. These are the pillars of healthy aging. Backhand index pointing right now, let me flip it back to you. Have you noticed any of these changes? Better sleep, calmer mood, more energy after staying sexually active? Drop a 1 in the comments if yes, or a 0 if not yet. I read those numbers and they tell me something powerful, that you're not just listening, you're experimenting, you're engaging with your own health. And that's the real path forward: curiosity, action, and the courage to keep going. Practical tips from urologists: safe masturbation after 60. At this stage of life, health and safety matter as much as satisfaction. Urologists emphasize that masturbation for older men is not only natural but can be a valuable part of maintaining prostate health, erectile function, and emotional balance. Still, there are guidelines worth keeping in mind. 1. Frequency matters, but flexibility is key. The Journal of Urology, 2017, suggests that regular ejaculation, about 2 to 4 times per week, was associated with lower rates of prostate congestion and improved urinary health. That said, there is no magic number. Some men feel comfortable with once a week, others more often. What matters is consistency, not forcing. 2. Watch for discomfort or pain. Mayo Clinic advises that if masturbation leads to pelvic discomfort, blood in the urine or semen, or persistent pain, it may signal underlying issues such as prostatitis or BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia. These symptoms should not be ignored. They are a reason to seek medical evaluation. 3. Avoid excessive force or desensitization. Overly aggressive techniques or reliance on very high-intensity stimulation can cause irritation or make it harder to respond to partner intimacy. Urologists call this stimulus mismatch. Moderation and variety protect long-term sensitivity. 4. Timing and balance. For older men, energy levels fluctuate more than in youth. Studies in the Journal of Gerontology, Medical Sciences, 2018, show that sexual activity earlier in the day often aligns better with testosterone rhythms, leading to better satisfaction and less fatigue. Pay attention to your body's signals rather than rigid routines. 5. Hydration and circulation. Simple but overlooked, erections require hydration and blood flow. Staying well hydrated and engaging in light movement, like a walk before or after, can improve circulation. Mayo Clinic also stresses pelvic floor exercises, Kegels, as a tool for men over 60 to improve both urinary control and erectile strength. In short, masturbation after 60 is safe, healthy, and recommended, but only when approached with balance, self-awareness, and attention to medical signs. It should never feel like punishment or compulsion. Done wisely, it becomes part of a larger strategy: protecting the prostate, preserving erectile tissue, regulating hormones, and reinforcing confidence. Audience Q and a segment. Every week I scroll through the comments and I see questions that deserve careful answers. Let me read a few aloud and respond, because if one man asked, 100 more are probably wondering the same thing. Envelope with arrow comment from Daniel, 72. Doc, is it true that if I keep masturbating at my age, I'll run out of testosterone faster? Daniel, no, you won't use up testosterone. That's a myth. Testosterone production is regulated by your brain's hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. According to Endocrine Review's 2019, sexual activity does not deplete testosterone. In fact, regular arousal may help maintain steadier levels. What drains testosterone is chronic illness, excess belly fat, and poor sleep, not healthy sexual activity. Envelope with arrow comment from Frank, 66. I've heard that if I stop completely, it keeps me stronger. Is abstinence a good idea? Frank, abstinence can backfire. A study in European Urology 2016 found that men with regular ejaculations had a lower risk of prostate cancer. Abstinence doesn't store strength. It may increase congestion in the prostate and reduce circulation. Your body wasn't designed for permanent shutdown. Envelope with arrow comment from Lewis, 69. Sometimes after I masturbate, I feel a little guilty, like I shouldn't be doing this anymore at my age. Is that normal? Lewis, it's more common than you think. Society has layered shame on this topic for decades, but Harvard Health Publishing emphasizes that masturbation at any age is a normal, healthy sexual behavior. Guilt doesn't come from biology, it comes from old beliefs. If you're engaging safely and it improves your sleep, circulation, or mood, then it's not a weakness, it's part of healthy aging. Gentlemen, I love seeing your questions. They remind me we're not just talking about theory, we're addressing real lives. Keep leaving them below, because every time you do, you're helping another man find his answer, too. Final word and call to action. Gentlemen, let's pause for a moment. We've walked through the myths, the science, the stories, and the truths most men never hear in a doctor's office. We've seen that prostate health, erections, testosterone, and desire don't simply vanish with age. They respond to whether you stay engaged, whether you choose silence or action. You've heard Richard's story, you've seen the evidence, and maybe you've recognized yourself in the questions and doubts of other men. And now the choice is in your hands. So here's what I want you to do. Backhand index pointing right first, hit that like button. Not as a favor to me, but as a declaration for yourself. A signal that says, I'm not finished. Backhand index pointing right second, leave a comment. If you're already practicing some of these steps, type a 1. If you haven't started yet, type a 0. That one keystroke could connect you with other men walking the same road. Backhand index pointing right third, share this video with someone you know, because silence has cost men too much already. If one friend hears this and finds hope, you've changed a life. Backhand index pointing right, and finally, subscribe. Because this isn't the end of the conversation, it's the beginning. Subscribe and you won't be left guessing in the dark. You'll have science, truth, and brotherhood lighting the way. And let me leave you with this blessing. May you have the strength to protect your health, the courage to face your fears, and the wisdom to never confuse age with the end of manhood. May your nights bring rest, your mornings bring energy, and your years ahead bring dignity and joy. Remember this, gentlemen, you are not broken, you are not too old, and you are not finished. The engine is still inside you. Now it's time to make it fire again.